Hey guys, it's Mike Goldstein here again with the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. And today we are so lucky to have with us one of the foremost experts in the ability to take your company and figure out how to systematize it, how to implement EOS so that you can become more profitable, more efficient, your team can communicate better. We're going to do all of that with Lyn Askin, and we're going to do it in just a few moments. But before we do that, just want to remind you, for those of you who are on YouTube, for those of you who are seeing the stream on Facebook, like this podcast, share it if you find value in it. We really appreciate that. Hit that bell on YouTube. All right, we will be talking with Lyn just after this.
Are you looking for some fresh ideas to jumpstart your kitchen remodeling business? Welcome to the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. Your host, Michael Goldstein, founder of Kitchen Remodeling SEO, the digital marketing agency working exclusively with kitchen remodeling contractors, and also the author of the ultimate internet marketing guide for kitchen remodeling contractors, will provide insights on proven tips and strategies from top experts in this space so that you can take advantage of industry best practices. Your host, Michael Goldstein. Join Mike as he shares his knowledge each week with an insightful interview or educational segment about how to turn your online marketing efforts into more kitchen remodeling leads and sales opportunities than ever before.
And we're back. So we're going to bring in with us Lyn, and we're going to talk to him and find out all about EOS, guys. I hope you're excited. I sure am. Hey, Lyn, how the heck are you?
Mike, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So, Lyn, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. And we talked this up last week's podcast. We were talking about how, we're going to bring you on. We're going to talk to you. And we're going to learn a little bit about this thing called EOS and the ability to become more profitable, more systematized, just have the team be able to collaborate better. But, before we get into all that, and, because I know who you are and I know a little bit about you, but if you could tell the audience, who are you? What is Lyn Askin? Who are you? And how did you get involved in EOS?
Very cool. Well, my name's Lyn Askin. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur and digital marketer. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I think I had a paper route when I was 9, launched one of the first online auctions in 1996, built an e-commerce store in 97 that we ran for 25 years. But over the last 25 years, I've run a digital marketing agency that's similar to you. I've helped other businesses grow online. But like anyone else, and like most businesses, we have the same challenges and problems that other people had. It's kind of a lack of vision in our company about who we were and who we served. We were a little bit to everyone. We had some people on our team who maybe had one foot in the door and one foot out, weren't really fully committed to our mission because it wasn't super clear. And there was kind of a lack of accountability across the board. We had people on our team who we liked very much, but maybe weren't getting the job done. And maybe this guy up here wasn't very good at holding everybody accountable. But, despite all of that, we were still really successful. But in I guess that's a pretty good story. But in 2020, I actually collapsed in my yard. I suffered a massive pulmonary embolism. As I laid there kind of fighting for my life, all I could think about was what kind of mess did I leave my wife and son, in my business? What were they going to have to go clean up for me as I laid there dying? And I realized that my wife was going to have to go down to my office. She was going to have to fire all of our team. She was going to have to lose all of our clients. And she was going to have to lock the door behind me. And that would have been my legacy, Mike. That would have been, what they remembered me by. And had I died that day, my business would have died with me. And so thank God I survived that. I mean, that day I was given another chance. And I don't know exactly why yet, but I was. But I knew some things needed to change in my own business. And that's when I found EOS. That's when I started to build systems and processes. I found EOS, and over the last 2.5 years, we've had a remarkable transformation in our business. We 3x'd our gross revenue, we 7x'd our profit, and we grew from 17 employees to 27. More importantly than that, I was able to remove myself from the day-to-day operations of my business. The days are long gone where I'm actually fulfilling the products and services that we deliver to our clients. I'm the visionary now, and I handle the big relationships, and I lead the team culture and vision. But what I've done really is I built an asset for not only for my family, but for my team and for my clients. They need us to be successful, and we need to be around for them to be successful. That transformation for me, Mike, was life-changing. And that's why I've become really, really passionate about EOS and helping others transform their businesses the way that I've transformed mine.
That's awesome. And one of the things you mentioned, which is so critical, I think, to me in my business too, is how you're setting yourself, not just setting yourself up, but you're setting up your team members and your people in your business that you can take care of them, so that if God forbid something happens to us as owners, we employ dozens and dozens of people, and we don't want anything to happen. We want them to be able to continue to flourish, and getting these processes in place, I think really does that. But with that in mind, let me ask you, kind of looking at EOS, like how does EOS really help, say, a home service, specifically maybe a kitchen remodeling company or a cabinet company, prioritize its goals, ensure that everybody in the organization is aligned towards achieving the same thing?
Well, EOS can help, many companies, whether it's kitchen remodeling or home services or whatever, works really well with companies and the employees. But it helps them by providing a framework for goal setting and execution and team. The first step of that really is to help you establish your vision as a company. Identify your core values, identify your purpose, identify your long-term goals, and then really help you break down your long-term goals into smaller measurable objectives. In EOS, we call those rocks. The rocks are really a 90-day priority that you guys have determined for you and your company. And then we assign those rocks to individuals on your team. We help your team progress towards those goals. We track those goals, and we review them regularly. To assure that you sort of have alignment in your company and throughout the organization, EOS really emphasizes the importance of regular communications and accountability. So this means things like weekly meetings where you guys review your progress. You make sure that any issues or obstacles are addressed. We encourage open and honest communication between you and your team members, which really helps build trust and ensures that everybody's working towards the same goals.
That's great. And when you talk about communication, I imagine that EOS helps not just internally, but also in terms of communicating with the clients and with outside vendors and all of that too. I mean, how does that come into play?
Well, and again, really, this is about, I guess this is really about being open and honest and accountable, right? When you guys determine who you are by setting your clear vision, and then you set goals and build a plan on how to get there, you're also going to determine who it is that you work best with. So you're going to set your core target. Now, you're going to know exactly who the people are that you guys want to work with. You're going to know what kind of companies you want to work with. You're going to know the kind of people you want to work with. And you're going to want to work with people that match your core values. And so once you do that and you guys are clearly aligned about who you are and where you're going, it's easy to communicate that message to not only your team, but also to your clients.
That makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that I like to do when I talk to people in my business is, strategy or theory is all great, but I like to kind of bring in examples and specifically like, how this might help. If we're talking about SEO, how we're going to leverage SEO to build, and we have examples of someone who has used it to jump in the rankings, to increase their revenue, whatnot. Can you think of an example of maybe a cabinet company or someone in construction or something where they've used EOS to really reduce costs, to increase profitability, and how it's actually helped them do that?
Well, I don't have any specific examples of my own clients in those industries, but I can share with you a couple of things. One, I think I shared with you mine. We 3x'd our gross revenue. We 7x'd our net profit, and we grew from 10 people to 27. We did that really, really quickly. And how we did that and how we would do that for, anybody listening, we would sit down and we'd clarify your priorities. Number one, we use the framework of EOS to set clear priorities and goals so you guys can focus on your most important projects and initiatives. Honestly, this helps you reduce costs by avoiding waste and time on low resource, or I don't know, maybe low priority tasks or projects that don't really align with your goals. Number two, we help you by improving your efficiency. What we really do in EOS is we emphasize the importance of creating clear processes and systems for getting the work done that you guys need to get done, getting the right work done the right way every time. So when we streamline your process, we eliminate unnecessary steps. And when you guys eliminate unnecessary steps in remodeling, you're reducing costs and improving your efficiency. And of course, one of the biggest things we do is we help align your team, because when everybody in your team is working towards the same goals and the same priorities, you guys are going to reduce things like misunderstandings and mistakes that lead to increased costs. So when you provide clear expectations to your team and you clearly define their roles and responsibilities, what you're doing really is you're ensuring that everyone is aligned towards achieving your company vision and everyone knows clearly what their roles and responsibilities are. When you do those things, you're going to improve your customer satisfaction. So imagine using EOS to create a culture of accountability, a culture of transparency. You guys are improving your customer satisfaction and loyalty because you're clearly communicating your vision. You guys are executing on that vision on a daily basis, and this is going to improve your customer retention. It's going to improve your referral pipeline. It's going to improve your repeat business, and that, of course, is going to help your profitability in the long haul. So when we get all those things aligned, when we get your vision aligned, we get your people aligned, we're using data and scorecards to actually have cool measurables, and we're measuring your actual progress. We're going to start shaking out issues in your company. We're going to give you a track to help you solve issues on a regular basis. We're going to make sure you guys have your systems and processes organized. And then we're going to bring that vision all the way down to the ground and get traction. We're going to do that by putting you guys in like this 90-day world where you're every 90 days, you're working like heck. You're on your key priorities. 90 days from now, you come up for air, see how you did, make sure you guys are still aligned, make sure everybody's on the same track, and then you're going to reset your priorities and do it again. So, imagine that in your company. Imagine if you had all of those pieces working together, how that could work for you. So while that's not a very specific example other than my own, I think you all can imagine what that would look like in your company.
And I just had to reduce things to its simplistic form, or as I've been told, I redneck ideas. I don't know if that's a real thing, but what it sounds to me like what you're talking about is really just setting priorities and making sure that everybody is kind of in line with those priorities. And I know part of EOS is obviously having the meeting, having weekly meetings, having monthly meetings, whatnot. And you have something called this. What is it? A 10-point meeting, or what is that?
It's called the level 10 meeting.
Level 10 meeting, yeah. So tell me what exactly is that? How does that work?
Well, often we have inefficiencies in our business. And so EOS really encourages regular meetings. And this is a place where team members can identify, discuss, and solve obstacles that are preventing you guys from working more efficiently. This can include issues with your processes, your system, your communication, your clients, all of those things. And so in our regular level 10 meetings, there's a session called IDS, which is identify, discuss, and solve. And so this is one of the things that helps companies grow quickly, is because you guys have a weekly meeting to discuss those obstacles that are preventing you from working more efficiently.
That makes sense. And certainly I think as you're doing that, as you're kind of coming together, it's going to allow you to take care of what's really most necessary and kind of kill off the pieces that are stopping you from achieving those results. So let me kind of take this a step further is, how does EOS help a company identify and address the specific inefficiencies, the specific bottlenecks in its operations? how do you use it to really identify that beyond just kind of in general having a meeting and talking about like what is there tools, are there processes, is there a strategy to really dial in that type of or where those bottlenecks are?
Well, squashing inefficiencies is a entire process, and EOS has a bunch of different tools to help you do that. And one of them, the first thing I talked about was that level 10 meeting. This is where we have the regular meetings. We get in and we discuss those obstacles that you guys are having and the problems that you're facing. One of the other tools that we use is basically creating a process map. And the first step in really streamlining any process is kind of mapping it out, mapping out the particular steps from in that process from start to finish. This is going to help you identify, issues, redundancies, unnecessary steps in that process that can be eliminated. And then one of the other things that we help you do as a company is establish your clear roles and responsibilities. So the tool that we use to do that is we basically help you create your accountability chart. The accountability chart is going to help you establish clear roles and responsibilities for every team member. The other thing that we do there is we help you clarify the expectations for each team member on who's responsible for what in each step of your process. So one of the things that this does is it really reduces confusion and improves the accountability throughout your entire company, top to bottom. Go ahead.
No, so as you're talking about this, I'm thinking, a lot of people have, smaller teams, maybe you get you have the president, you've got someone who does some sales, you got a bunch of guys in production, but you don't have a lot of people with leadership skills. How do you determine like who is going to be responsible for what role or how you divvy up or you create that leadership team that you're talking about?
Well, I think when the accountability chart exercise that we do with our clients really is about creating your leadership team. Every company, probably in this existence of man, has three core functions: sales and marketing. This is where you guys go out and you sell the product. You offer the product for sale, right? You create products and services. That's your sales and marketing department. The next product obviously is operations. This is where you guys are out fulfilling those products and services that you sold. And then you have a finance department where you guys manage the incoming and outgoing money in your company. Maybe it's acquisitions, maybe it's payroll, maybe it's just accounts receivable, accounts payable. And that's the typical kind of organization. Now, most organizations then have somebody that's the integrator that makes all of the things happen in your company. This is the person that's holding the team together, that's holding people accountable, that's making things work. And then in a lot of companies, on top of that is your visionary. This is the kind of the 30,000 foot view person. This is the person that, the one that brings 20 ideas to every meeting. So like, hey, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. But they're not so great at having those tough conversations, right? Not so good with going down into the team and being tough on people necessarily. So maybe that's the integrator's role. And so each company is really different. You might break your sales and marketing into two different departments. And it kind of depends on your leadership team. But what you want to really do here is you want to create the structure that you need for 6 months or 12 months down the road. So you're going to build this accountability chart. You're going to put the roles and responsibilities in it. And then and only then do you try and fit the right people in those seats. So when it comes to talk to people in EOS, we're really talking about the right people in the right seats. Now, the right people are people that fit your core values. Those are people you like to be around. Those are people that believe the same things you believe. They're the people that live the core values of the company on a day-to-day basis. Most of the time. Not everybody lives the core values every single day, all the time. You're talking about most of the time. Is this person the right person in your company? Now, the right seat person, that's the person that can get the job done. That's the person who's good at their job. They're just constantly excelling and they're just doing that. When you can pair the right person, which is the person who lives your core values, and put them in the right seat and give them an opportunity to be successful in a job that they love and they both want it, they get it, and they have capacity to do it, then you have 100% strong in the people component of EOS.
So two things come to mind as you're talking about putting this team together. Number one is one thing that the pandemic taught us is we don't always have to be in the same place at the same time, and that we can go out and we hire the best people in the world to do the job that we need them to do. So is it difficult to put a leadership team together where maybe someone's going to be in another state or even another country? That's number one. And then number two is, do you always want to make sure that everybody who sits on this leadership team is actually an employee? Or is it better, or is it even acceptable to have outside of an implementer, maybe a third party, similar to like what a board of directors would do, where they bring people in from all different industries and sit on their board to advise the company?
Our leadership team, about 50% of our leadership team is not in the US. And so COVID changed the world in so many ways. We do almost everything over Zoom now. And people just didn't need to come into the office anymore. We just got accustomed to handling our business remotely. And so we don't have a big office anymore. We don't have that overhead expense anymore, but we have a team of 20 plus people. Our leadership team right now is 5, but we have a leadership team that is located all over the country. A couple of us are here in Lafayette, Louisiana. We have team members on our leadership team over in Pakistan and other parts of the world. And so, what you said earlier was get the right people wherever they are and then put them in the right seat.
For sure. And what about, bringing someone into the leadership team who maybe isn't an employee, but is an advisor? Is it important that the people who are on the leadership team are actually taking part of the day-to-day activities of the business?
In EOS, at least in EOS, people on the leadership team are responsible for leadership, management, and accountability. And so they typically will have a role in the company where they're leading, they're managing, and they're holding people below them accountable. Now, can an outside person do that? I imagine that's true. But I believe you're probably more efficient if someone is really, really inside of your company, lives your core values first and foremost, and then believes in your plan and your vision and your mission. So, whatever that means to each of you, obviously, I think it's important that this person is the right person in the right seat. If they are, great, but I in my estimation, I would believe that would be somebody that was in the business working on it on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. Now, just to take this a step further in terms of someone from the outside world, one of the things, Lyn, that you do is you are an outside implementer of EOS. So for somebody who's listened to this and they're kind of on the fence, maybe I want to do EOS, maybe I don't. What are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen people make who try and do it all on their own without the help of someone who can help them navigate EOS kind of from the get-go?
EOS is a system, and it can be difficult to follow if you don't understand the reason you're doing the things. A lot of us do things because we've been told that's what we do, but until you understand why you're doing it, I think that makes it more complicated. We actually tried to self-implement EOS in our company and kind of failed at it. We weren't really following the system, but the truth is we got better anyway. We used pieces of the system and got better. It wasn't until we hired the outside, EOS implementer to come in and really guide us and really lead us and have my team hear some of these things from an outside party. As a kid, you hear something from your parents, it's like, oh, but you hear it from somebody outside and you're like, oh yeah, that's real. It's a little bit like that in a lot of ways.
Wait till your kid is 18 and they come back and said, that thing you told me?
Yep.
Shit, you were right.
You were right. Yeah. It's amazing how much smarter my parents got the older I got. So
Well, my favorite son I ever saw was driving in Boston on the old expressway, and there was this giant sign the Boston Globe said is, read the Boston Globe. You'll feel so smart you'll think you're 16 again.
That's
I love that. I'll never forget that.
I love it.
But it's just kind of getting back to EOS and implementation and setting it up. What are some of the the key things that you want to make sure if you do self-implement that you need to make sure that you follow? And what are the pitfalls when you are self-implementing that you have to avoid? Well,
I think some of the pitfalls of self-implementing are just simply not following the system as designed. I'll give you an example. We had our own little version of the EOS level 10 meeting. We didn't really follow it the way that it was designed. And as a system, the design's kind of perfect, and we decided that we were smarter. What EOS gives you is really a framework for continuous improvement. And if you follow EOS, what you'll end up with is you're going to have an environment where your team members are really encouraged to speak up, to suggest ideas, to suggest ways to improve the processes and systems in your company. And when you do that, what you're really doing is you're ensuring that your organization is always looking for ways to improve. So this gives you a framework for that continuous improvement. So if I was asked the other day if I could only implement like one or two of the tools in EOS, that's really difficult because you got to make sure you start with the vision component. You need your entire team to buy in. You need your entire team knowing where you guys are headed over the next 10 years with a plan on how to get there, and you need everybody paddling in the right direction. That's one of the keys to EOS and to success in general, I think. When you have team members that don't really know where they are today, and they certainly don't know where they're going tomorrow, they will look elsewhere for opportunity. But when they believe in your plan, and when they believe in where you guys are headed, and you believe that you can get them to believe that they actually have a career here, and you can build that for them, you can have lifelong employees. And so, pitfalls of self-implementation are just not following the system. Like anything else, Michael Jordan has a coach. Tiger Woods has a coach. And whether or not they're better at golf or basketball than those two gentlemen respectively, they each count on somebody to help guide them and tell them where they are, can make improvements. And I think that's probably a good representation of an EOS implementer.
That makes a ton of sense. So for those people who are thinking about EOS and they're not really sure if it's right, what would be the kind of the one thing that you would look at if someone says, what do I need to see in my company to know that I'm ready to implement EOS? Or is there a size requirement? Is there a team requirement? Is there something that that where the bell is clanged, you said, you know what, I'm ready?
I think the guidelines of EOS are really 10 to 250 employees. Can you implement it with less than 10? We did. I think we were at maybe 10 employees when we really started to get into EOS. There is some financial requirements, so you have to be a decent sized company. It's to pay an outside professional to come in and help you. There is some expense involved, but I've worked with companies, doing as little as $35,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue, and help those companies grow. And so, if you're ready to really dial your business in, start with the end in mind, have constant improvement, get the right people in the right seats, build a company that you can, build an asset, have the ability at some point to take yourself out of the day to day. It's definitely something to look at. EOS is definitely something you should be looking at. And one of the things you can do, if you want, we can jump on a call and have a quick chat, just to determine if this is sort of a good fit. But EOS starts with something called a 90-minute meeting. And you have a 90-minute meeting with a professional EOS implementer where we walk you through the entire system, start to finish. And then at the end, you decide if this is a good fit for you. And if it's not a problem. But you can certainly learn a lot about EOS by going through that 90-minute meeting. Certainly would recommend everybody read the book Traction by Gino Wickman. I think that's the foundation of how to implement EOS. But there are other books that I think are more suited for the visionary. Books like Get a Grip, that's kind of the fable of EOS. Those are also great ways to start.
This has been fantastic. There's a lot of great information that you're sharing with us, and I'm sure that my listeners have taken a ton out of this, getting a lot of value. You've just dropped some incredible knowledge bombs on us today. So let me ask you, as you talked about, you are an EOS implementer. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, they want to find out a little bit more about EOS, how would they go about that? What would they do?
I am super easy to find. My name is Lyn Askin. It's pretty unique. If you type Lyn Askin in Google, you'll probably fall upon my LinkedIn or one of my other many online profiles. You can go to eosworldwide.com/Lyn-Askin. You can email me at lyn.askin@eosworldwide.com. There's lots of ways that you can find me.
That's fantastic. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I mean, this was really informative, I think, for the audience. I'll tell you, I actually pulled a lot out of this. We actually have not implemented EOS in my company, and we're absolutely looking into it. And, that's how you and I start talking. So I think that a lot of people are going to be in a similar situation. For those of you who who are thinking about it, I mean, Lyn is absolutely one of the best resources out there. So reach out to him, see what he can do for you. But with that said, we're coming up on the 30-minute mark. So I want to thank everybody for listening today to the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. If you found value in this, please share this, please like this. But for the rest of that, I would say is, thanks for listening. We are going to be back next week with a fantastic interview with a gentleman by the name of Josh Wheeler. And Josh is going to be talking to us all about how to create Facebook audiences and how to really target that exact audience that you want for the kitchen remodeling space, for the cabinetry space. So for Lyn Askin, for Mike Goldstein, I want to thank everybody for listening. This was Crushing It with the Kitchen Remodeling podcast. Look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike.